Hi guys, hi everyone, you're welcome back again to another sewing tutorial on this channel. If you're stopping by for the first time, this is Jowins Fashion Ville. Here on this channel we're into DIY on pattern drafting, sewing tutorials and everything in between sewing. So if you're stopping for the first time, do not forget to hit on the subscribe button, be a part of our sew community, and also hit on the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. There's so much to explore with us guys. And then for returning subscribers, thank you so much. You guys wow me all the time. Thank you. I don't know how to express my gratitude. It's actually beyond words. So I pray that God bless you in all your endeavors and crown all your efforts with success. So guys, in today's video, we'll be learning how to make a boubou kaftan with built-up collar. I meant built-up collar with asymmetric neckline. This is actually my first time for build-up collar with asymmetric neckline, even though I have some tutorials on the channel with a build-up collar. I think I have a kimono on the channel with a build-up collar, but this is actually a very different one. It's actually a build-up collar with asymmetric neckline, and there's so much to explore, there's so much to learn, there's so much to really understand in the process. So I thought to share the journey with you guys, and I thought that you guys need to enjoy every bit of the process with me. And then if you find it so enjoyable guys, don't forget to hit on the like button. Don't also forget to subscribe and then be a part of our community. This is what you're interested in watching. Watch the video to the end. So without wasting much of your time guys, let's get right into the video. So let's get started. Thank you. So welcome again guys. The first thing I simply did was to place my fabric on fold. I'll be drafting the front and the back, so I simply placed the first one and then I placed another fabric on fold. So one will be used for the front pattern and the other one for the back. So I simply went ahead to ascertain the full length of the fabric to be sure that it will accommodate the length that I want, and it was just okay for me. So what I simply did next was to come down by 1 inch. So I went ahead to draw a straight line. This line will act as an indicator to take my vertical measurement. So it's very important that you draft a straight line, a very straight line for precise measurement. So from that point, I'll simply go ahead and place my vertical measurements, the bust line, the waist line, and then the hip, and then finally the full length of the boubou kaftan, which is virtually the hemline. Okay, so just mark your own measurements. My bust line, I indicated it there. My waist line, I indicated it there. My hip line, I indicated it, and this is the hem. The full measurement is 57 inches, but when I had to add additional 2 inches to it, making it 59 inches. Okay, so I'll be using this additional 2 inch to turn up the hemline. Okay, so I'll simply go ahead and draft the neckline. For the back, I'll draft the back first. The neck width is 4 inches. The neck width rather is 3 inches and the neck depth is 2 inches. Okay, please take note that the neck width is 3 inches and then the neck depth is 2 inches for the back. Then the front pattern, I came down by, the neck depth is 8 inches. Okay, and then the neck width is still the same, which is 3 inches. So from the neck, from the front pattern, from that point I went in by 1 inch and I linked it up to the neckline. Okay, this is the front pattern. Then I went ahead to draft the shoulder slant. I came down by 1.5 inches and then I linked it up to the neck width, as you can see me doing. Okay, so have in mind that the shoulder slant is down by 1.5 inches. So there are two ways you can actually do this. You can either use the largest part of your body circumference plus 4 inches to draft this boubou kaftan, or you can do the other method I'll be using here. Okay, so I did the quarter of my hip measurement plus 4 inches. I could virtually link this up to my armhole and the hemline if I want, but I actually want a little fitting around the bust area and the waist area. Okay, so just draft along with me as I do this. So on the bust line, what I did here was to place the quarter of my bust circumference, and then I added 2 inches to it. And then for the waist measurement, I marked the quarter of my waist circumference plus 4 inches. The hip line is quarter of my hip plus 4. The waist, quarter of my waist plus 4. The bust, quarter of my bust plus 2, and remember that I added 1 inch seam allowance to it. Okay, so for the armhole I went up the bust line by half an inch. Okay, just above my bust line I went up by half an inch. Remember that I said I want some kind of fitting around the bust area, so I'm going to draft it in such a way that it will give me a little fitting around the bust, not necessarily gripping. Remember that this is a boubou kaftan, it doesn't have any zipper, so I'll just do a slight fitting around that bust area. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and ascertain the armhole, make sure that I draft the armhole. So I'm linking the 2 points together. My armhole is about 9 inches, and then I'll link it to my bust line. Okay, the bust measurements on the bust line. Remember that my bust line is quarter of my bust plus 2 inches and then plus 1 inch seam allowance. I added 1 inch seam allowance for the waistline and the hip line as well. So I'll go ahead and link these points together down to the hemline. Okay, so you can see that I virtually do not have a straight line. So you can do a straight line boubou. So I'm trying to eliminate the sharp curve around the armhole. So I'm blending it to give me that curve line, curvy like nature around the armhole. And then the measurements on the hip line, I will just place it on the hemline. It's as simple as this. So like I was explaining earlier, that you can decide to draft your boubou kaftan in a very simplified way, using the quarter of your hip circumference plus 4 inches. You draft your armhole and link it straight to your armhole and straight down, square it up to your armhole, square it down to your hemline, to be very easy without having to do any form of manipulation. But if you want some sort of fitting around your bust and waist area, then you can now do this. I actually did the quarter of my bust plus 2 on the bust area, the waistline the quarter of my waist plus 4, and the hip the quarter of my hip plus 4. So it's not giving me a straight line, it's giving me some kind of curvy nature around my bust down to my hip line. Okay, so I'm just trying to ascertain the measurement. I remember that I said I added 1 inch seam allowance, so I'll simply go ahead and link this up down to the hemline. It's very easy, guys. So guys, having done that, I'll simply go ahead and cut out the neckline and then the shoulder. I'm cutting out the back first. For the shoulder slants, make sure you add half an inch there for joining. Okay, seam allowance for joining your shoulder, the front to the back, is very important. Then I'll go ahead and cut out the remaining parts of the pattern for the front and the back, I meant to say. So but remember that I did not cut out the front pattern. Okay, I only used the back pattern to cut out this pattern for the front and the back. So after cutting out this pattern, then we'll proceed to the next stage. Okay, so hold on, guys. So guys, I'm done cutting out. I'll just go ahead and remove the front pattern. I'll simply open up the back pattern. Okay, I'll open this up, and then on one part of the neckline, you can choose any part, either the right side or the left side. I went out by 2 inches on that neckline. Just go out by 2 inches, and then I'll just go ahead and link it, redraft the neckline. So this is the asymmetric neckline for the dress. I'll just cut this out, and be sure to notch the center of your pattern of the neckline, the center point of the necklines. I'm so sorry for that short break. So I'll go ahead and open up the front pattern to enable me to determine where to place my asymmetric neckline for the front. Okay, so I'm just notching the center line for the front pattern. Okay, it's very important that you do so. Okay, so I'll place the front pattern right sides facing each other on the back pattern to enable me determine where to mark or where to draft my neckline, the asymmetric neckline for the front. If you don't do it like this, you might end up cutting out this front pattern twice. So it's best you place it this way and determine what part of the neckline has the asymmetric neckline, okay? So, or the asymmetric feature I meant to say. So for the front, since I determined it, I also went out by 2 inches and then I notched it. So I notched it, okay? I notched that point, which is very important for me. I just notched that point yet, and then I'll go ahead and open it up. I'll remove the back pattern and then I'll place the front pattern on my work table. I placed it on fold. I haven't notched where I want my asymmetric neckline to be, so I can now go ahead and cut out the pattern for the front neckline. I simply hope we understand what I'm doing, please guys. So I've removed the neckline, the front neckline for the front pattern. Remember that is a deep V neckline. I went in by 1 inch since the fabric is on fold, so automatically on a spread we have about 2 inches down there. Okay, I have about 2 inches. So I went ahead to mark the midpoint of that line. I know I've notched it. The midpoint should be 1 inch. Okay, so I'll use my scissors and notch it properly so that I wouldn't have to miss out on anything. So I've notched it a little bit, don't notch it too deep. Okay, and this is the point for the asymmetric neckline. So on the neckline down there, I'll go in by 2 inches as well, and then I'll link it to the neck width. Okay, so it's 2 inches on the neck width and 2 inches on the neck depth. Okay, so I have a ratio of 1:3 for my neckline. Marking from the center front of the neckline, I have a ratio of 3:1. One part of the neckline has 3 inches, the other part of the neckline has 1 inch. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut out this 2 inches that I marked out on one part of the neckline. I'll just cut it out like so. So I have notched the center front. It's very important I notch that point so that I don't miss out. So what I simply did next was to draft my pockets. I actually want a pocket for this. We have different method of drafting our pockets, but I really don't like a very wide pocket. So this pocket is about 6 inches. Okay, so I just went ahead to cut out a pocket. I have 4 layers of fabric there. These are an excess fabric I cut out from the pattern I drafted. So I went ahead to place my pocket where I want it on the front and the back pattern. So from the shoulder line is about 19 inches. I placed it on 19 inches. Okay, so I just use a pin to secure it, as you can see. So I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll attach the pocket to the fabric. I placed the pockets right sides facing each other, and I secured with a pin. I also go ahead and join my shoulder. So guys, having done that, you can see that I've joined the shoulder and I've also attached the pockets. I've stitched up the pockets with my sewing machine. Okay, so what we'll simply do next is to take a round measurement of the neckline. Okay, so I'll be starting from the shoulder seam. I'll simply take a round till I get to that same point. So guys, the total circumference for the neckline is about 32 inches, and then I'll be adding additional 3 inches. I'll be using this fabric, this is a Duchess satin, for my collar. So I'll go ahead and mark 7 inches. Okay, placing it on fold. You know, when you place 7 inches on fold, you have about 3.5. I added half an inch to the 3 inches collar for seam allowance, and then I'll go ahead and cut it out. The total length is about 35 inches because I added 3 inches to it. So you can see guys, placing it on fold, I'll just use my measuring tape so that we can see what we have. So you can see that I have 3.5 inches. If you have watched to this point, don't forget to subscribe guys. So guys, remember that the ratio of the neckline is 3:1. So I'm going to be marking 1.5 inches to 3.5 inches. Half an inch is for seam allowance, and I'll go ahead and draft out the collar like so. Okay, so you can use either the midpoints or a bit further from the midpoint to draft out this neckline. Okay, so like I said, 1.5 inches to 3.5 inches. I will just go ahead and link it. Just create this kind of curve as you can see. So guys, opening it up, you can see what I have. So I used an interfacing for this for the collar. I used an interfacing to stabilize the fabric, and I used the cotton stay, not the regular gum stay. I used the cotton stay, and as you can see, I've attached the collar to the neckline. I actually secured it with a pin. You can see the pins. I've not stitched it yet, so I used the pin to secure it to be sure that I actually place it properly. So guys, I've taken it to my sewing machine and I've stitched it up. So what I simply did next was to lift it up like this, okay, and then I'll go ahead and notch this point to enable me tuck in this collar properly. Okay, so I notched it by the side, and then I'll go ahead and tuck it in this way. I don't know if you understand. Make sure that you notch it by ½ inch, okay, by the sides of your lower neckline, okay, the depth of your neckline. Okay, so you notch it by the side and then you tuck it in to just enable the collar to relax properly. Okay, so if you don't notch it, it won't relax. You don't notch that end, it won't relax. Okay, so I'll go ahead and then place this collar properly at the back. I'll just place it flat down, and then I'll secure it with a pin. I'll first of all secure this with a pin before taking it to my sewing machine. So be very careful at every point so that you have a very neat finishing. So I'll secure it first with a pin, and then I'll take it to my sewing machine and then I'll stitch it. After stitching it up, I'll cut out the excess fabric, the excess collar I have at the back there. So this is the other part of the collar. You can see that I've drafted the pattern I want already on this. So you can choose to place your collar, this part, you can choose to place it anywhere. Okay, just give a diagram of your choice. So I also use an interfacing. I use that interfacing to stabilize this part as well. I still use a cotton stay, not the regular thick collar stay. I use the cotton stay so that it will be very smooth. So, and then I've cut out I've drafted the pattern I want, and I've placed it where I want. So I tucked it in and then I top stitched it on the fabric. It's a very easy thing to do. Just tuck it in by ½ inch. You can iron it first before top stitching to give you that very neat work. So after ironing it, you can use a pin, secure it, and then you can stitch it up to get a very neat job like I mentioned earlier. So for the armhole, I actually also use the same Duchess satin. I place it on fold and then I'll turn it up. I just use it to turn up the armhole, as you can see. Okay, so you can see what we have. It's looking beautiful already. So I'll just place it right sides facing each other. After considering my armhole, I'll place it this way. Okay, ensure that you place your fabric properly. So I'm going to be placing it like this, and then I'll stitch it round through the pockets and then down to the hemline. Okay, and then I'll turn up the hemline. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Have a blessed day. God bless you so much. Thank you.